Well, it is a very sunny and very frigid winter day here outside of Toronto, and I'm in a Volvo EC40. What is an EC40? I actually had to Google it. I had to look it up. So E is for electric. This is a battery electric vehicle. C is the coupe kind of roofline it has. You can also get the boxier EX. So this is Volvo's compact crossover battery electric version, coupe version. Kind of weird. So I'm gonna check my notes before we get going here. So the boxy EX and the swoopy EC both have the same starting MSRP. They both start at $63,500 more or less. So you actually don't pay extra for the coupe like you do in a lot of places. Now this car, as you can tell by how very black it is the black edition. And that option costs $16,800. Which is shocking, but I have to say it's not just the blackout. Like, you get black wheels and black badges and all this stuff. Like, if you love black, I don't get these black packages, but people really like them. So of course you get all this extra black stuff. The interior is all black. Everything's black. Murdered out, bro. But that's not what you spend $17,000 on. It basically also comes with the Ultra package, which is the top of the range trim for the EC40, which gives you everything this car has. So basically, the black edition gives you the fully loaded trim and the black appearance stuff. You're not paying $17,000 for black wheels. That would be ridiculous, even on like a McLaren. The Ultra trim gets you a lot of things. Notably, it gets you the twin motor powertrain. In America, you can get this in rear drive, single motor. You could also get it, as we have here, with the twin motor. That's the big news. But you also get a fixed panoramic glass roof, wireless phone charging, pilot assist, which is kind of just like their highway assist, like it kind of steers for you when you're on cruise control and such, heated steering wheel, and even heated washer nozzle, in addition to all your usual luxury features: heated seats front and rear, USB-C, blah, blah, blah. So basically, it's the loaded version. And in fact, this one has an eye-watering MSRP, which I just cannot get over. This car, as you see it, is $75,850. This is a $76,000 compact CUV. Honestly, I don't know if any CUV can be that good, but we're here to find out. We're keeping an open mind, and we are going to get going with it. We're going to talk about the electric drivetrain. So like I said, twin motor all-wheel drive, one up front, one in the back. Those twin motors combine to make 402 horsepower and 494 pound-feet of torque, and that means it's quite fast. This thing will go from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 4.7 seconds. So it's like legit sports car fast, which is bananas. It uses an 82 kilowatt hour battery, which means it has a 431 kilometer official range. It's winter right now, it's quite cold. But I think that's quite accurate. I haven't had it charged to 100% during my week with it yet, but the amount of depletion I've seen on a couple of road trips here and there, it tracks. I think I'm losing about 10 to 15% because of the cold. It was about -7 this morning, Celsius. So that tracks with what the car would actually be capable of in ideal conditions. So putting my phone down on the wireless charging pad, which is part of the Ultra package, I want to talk about this infotainment system before we really get started, because frankly, it's the best part of the car. I think this is the best infotainment system I have used in a very long time. It might be the best infotainment system I've ever used. I love it. Let me show why. Usually, the first thing I do when I get into a car is set up CarPlay. But I don't even have it connected yet. I used it and it works fine, but there's no need because I have Google Maps integrated right into the car here, which is great. And if I navigate to the nearest charging station, I hit start, you'll see if I shift into drive, I also get that map right here in the gauge cluster. So this is redundant. I don't need two maps, which means I can use the other one for my Spotify. And the way that Spotify is right into the native system is the best. I love that. I love that I can have all my regular Spotify just like I'm browsing on a tablet. And then I have my nav right here as I need it. Putting it back into park. That's pretty cool. Everything else is pretty basic, and that's really all I need. All I need is maps and music. Car makers, all I want are maps and music. This is our energy range assistant, showing us our consumption, our driving stuff, gives you a little score. The phone integration works really well as well. It's just a really nice, simple, intuitive system. It's not huge, and it's really easy to use on the go. I'm a big fan. So, last weird thing before we get going, there's no on button. If you have the key in the car, it's on. If you leave, it's off, which kind of weird. I don't like cars where I can't actually turn them on and off. I'm always like wondering if they're on or off. And this one's like that. It relies on seat pressure in the driver's seat to be on. So like when I'm shooting my pictures, I sit in the back seat, but I can't have heat. If there's no one in the front seat, the car turns off. There's no heater, it doesn't work. It's just, I would prefer a button to turn a car on and off. Maybe it's a convenience for some. I don't love it. Anyways, the car is on. All we do is put our foot on the brake, and now we're in drive. So I'll wait for a break in traffic, and then we'll go for a drive in the EC40. Now this bad boy rides on 20-inch wheels, despite being compact, with the black Ultra package. It's quite zippy. I've had a chance to kind of drive it around a lot, and I don't think it's giving me full power because I only have 20% battery right now. But when it's charged up, it's quite fast. I mean, you have 400 horsepower in a compact CUV. That's a lot of oomph. But despite having all this power, it doesn't really feel like a performance car. You know what I mean? The steering is very relaxed and it handles great. I mean, watch, we'll flow through these turns with absolute ease. Whoosh. Lots of power, handling is precise, but it's just not that kind of car. The suspension is very soft, it moves around a lot. There's really it doesn't really give a performance vibe. And if you want a performance edge to your compact CUV, it's not here. It's just a very nice car, which takes us to the interior. I like that Volvo has been a bit daring with their materials choices in here. I like this kind of topography map texture we have on the dashboard and on the door inlays. I think that looks really cool. The quality of materials in here is quite good, although, I don't know, $76,000, it better be. There's also this kind of like wool material on the inside of the doors here and lining the center console. And I like it. It's a unique idea, and it's something that's not just like another ream of black plastic or fake leather or whatever. I like that they're starting to play with a bit more textures and materials inside premium cars, and they should be. The interior is very, I mean, it's just sensible, really. You have a big, fat volume knob. Look at this thing. Right there in the middle, big, fat play and pause button. It's what we want to see all the time. We always complain how it's always hard to find or it's next to the shifter. No, look what we have, a regular sensible shifter, a regular volume knob. It's what we like. One little add-on to the not very sporty bit is that there's no driving modes in this car. You can turn it to one pedal drive like I've been using for more regenerative braking, or you can have two pedals and use the brake pedal to slow you down, but that's it. There's no sport mode, which is kind of, there's no paddle shifters either. It's not really a sporty vibe in here, which is fine, but just know that going into it. If you want a sporty experience, it's not here. But I mean, even though it's not a sports car, it still drives just beautifully, and it's just so smooth to drive. Like, really, feels like a car with a lot of vertical suspension travel. I feel like I have a lot of wheel movement before I feel a bump happen, which is good. Kind of the central point is this vertical tablet display. I like that. I press this button, all my climate stuff comes up. It's like pretty intuitive. I don't typically like systems that are all on a touchscreen. This one's 100% touchscreen based, but I gotta say, it works. I like it. I like that there's these buttons at the bottom for my climate and everything. They're like anchored there. They don't go away when I do other stuff. If I have a sore spot in the interior, it's weirdly about the seats. Usually Volvo seats are the best, but maybe it's just me. I can't find a position that's comfortable in these seats. It's just the way they're shaped. I can't adjust to a comfortable driving position in this car. And that's just me personally, but I'm able to get comfortable in other cars. Something ergonomically strange about this car. I'm not quite sure what. But it's a very pleasant place to sit. Quality is quite good. Lots of little storage cubbies for all your hats and gloves. wireless phone charging up front, and 2 USB-C ports for wired charging as well. I'm not a fan of giant panoramic glass roofs, personally. They are giant heat sinks, and I can't close a shade on this one. It's not electrochromatic, there's no physical shade either, it's just sun all the time. So not my favorite, but that's a personal preference, I guess, and it's just as easy to just not spec that on the car you want. You know, the regenerative braking in this car is so good. I barely touched the brake pedal since I've got this car. It even auto holds at intersections. And one weird side effect is that the brakes have actually been like slightly rusty during my time with it. They just haven't been getting used. Out back in the cargo area, it fits quite a lot of stuff considering its compact footprint. And I like its 3-way folding kind of cargo partition. You can fold it all the way down and you can just get an open cargo space, lift it up, and there's room for some smaller things. Right now I have the vehicle charge cord under there, or I can flip it kind of vertically and use these hooks to hang my grocery bags so they don't fly around the cargo spot. I think that's pretty cool. I like that. The rear seat, also nice. You get rear seat heaters and USB-C charging. Not much else to report back there. And while we wait for the light to change on the oldest existing Bailey Bridge in Ontario, it's a great car to drive forwards, but it's kind of annoying to drive backwards. And that is because of a few things. If I throw it in reverse, you see this camera comes on, but it's like the worst rear view camera I've seen in a long time. It doesn't really show very far, and I can't see very well out of it. I can hit this 360, and now I have a much better view, but when I go into reverse, it defaults to this other angle. And I think that's a missed opportunity. I think especially for the price point, I expect things like a backup camera to be nailing it. I expect precision. This camera barely works, which I would back up the normal way, except because it's a coupe, I can't see anything behind me with my actual eyes. It's actually very difficult to reverse and park this car properly because visibility is such a concern and the cameras are really of no help. So for a car that's otherwise very small and maneuverable, it's a big miss. The camera situation here is so easily fixable. I wish that when I put it into reverse, it would automatically select the 360-degree camera, and that would help me park this thing a lot because as it is, it's kind of awkward to park it and it's not that big. Now because this chassis has to work as a gas car and an electric, we don't have like a dedicated frunk up front. But we do have a weird little storage nook, which I think is kind of fun. It's really small and it's barely insulated from the outside conditions, but you can put something up there and nobody would ever think to look. So I think that's kind of fun. The big question here is value. Are you getting $76,000 of value out of this car? Well, it's quite economical. Being electric and being in Ontario, I can charge this car overnight for like under $10 at my house. And I can go quite a long ways with that. My costs per kilometer are quite low. I think the move, frankly, would be to buy a lower trim of this car. The Ultra niceties are very nice, but I don't care for the black aesthetic. I don't need all of these luxuries, although wireless charging at this price point is really expected. Maybe a lower trim would be a better value proposition. As it is, $76,000. It's a great car, but it's also a tough sell. You'd have to be willing to spend a lot of money to also save a lot of money because they do make this in a gas version for about $10,000 less money. So you can save your money up front and then spend more on fuel during your ownership. The other thing is that if you are looking for an electric compact crossover SUV, the Genesis electrified GV70 starts at just $74,000, and we really, really like that car. I like the way it's designed, I like the way it drives. The GV70 is one of the strongest offerings in the segment. Now I get that I'm comparing a base GV70 with a loaded EC40, but the point is, they're playing in the same price bracket. And if I had to choose between the two, I think I'd go for the Genesis. But it's pretty close. And that's my take on the EC40. I really like it as a car. It's smooth, like the quality of the driving experience is so nice, and it's so much more elevated than things you'd find in other compact CUV electrics. It really is a nice experience. The quality of the interior, I like the design, I love the infotainment system, and I like the relaxed driving experience. But at the end, it's just a value question. And so I think it's worth hunting through those trim levels of the EC40 to find the one that makes the best value for you, because for me, the Ultra Black Edition, it's just a step too far. But maybe you're getting it on a good lease deal. So, for Driving.ca, I'm Clayton Seams, and for more electric car news and reviews, don't forget to check out our website where you'll find my full written review of this car as well. And now, with 15% battery remaining, I am going to drive to a charger. Stay warm, friends.